When we talk about cryptocurrency, the first name that usually comes up is Bitcoin. And fair enough, it was the first of its kind, the pioneer, the original digital currency that started it all. But here's the thing, while Bitcoin made the world pay attention to crypto, it's Ethereum that's been busy changing what crypto can actually do. Even though Bitcoin is still the most well-known, Ethereum has grown into something much bigger than just a digital coin. Its technology has become the backbone for a whole new wave of innovation. Apps, smart contracts, NFTs, DeFi, you name it. And there is highly chances that in near future, it might eventually outpace Bitcoin in real-world usage. So in this video, we're going to take a closer look at Ethereum, how it was created, who was behind it, and how it's grown from an ambitious idea into one of the most important platforms in the crypto space. We'll go through its history, the major milestones, the challenges it's faced, and some pretty interesting facts you might not know along the way. Now, before we jump into Ethereum's history and how it all came to life, first off, let's take a look at what actually is Ethereum. I know most of you guys would already have a good idea, but for those who doesn't have good info, all this talk about blockchains, smart contracts, and tokens can sound like a whole different language. So yeah, in simple terms, Ethereum is a public, open-source platform that uses blockchain technology, just like Bitcoin. But it's built to do a lot more than just send and receive digital money. It lets people create and run what are called smart contracts, self-executing agreements that live on the blockchain. No middlemen, no paperwork, and no one in the middle saying, "Trust me." The code is the contract. And on top of that, developers can build decentralized apps, also known as dApps, right on Ethereum. These apps can do everything from finance to gaming to art marketplaces, all without relying on traditional servers or big tech companies. Now, the question is, how's Ethereum different from Bitcoin? Bitcoin was built to be a digital currency. That's it. Ethereum is more than that. It's a whole platform. It has its own currency, Ether, but it also lets people build apps, contracts, and tools on top of it. Bitcoin runs on proof of work. It's slow and uses a lot of energy. Ethereum switched to proof of stake. It's faster, more efficient, and rewards users based on how much Ether they stake. Apart from that, Bitcoin only allows public transactions. Ethereum allows both public and private ones. That's why big companies are interested. Block speed, Bitcoin adds one every 10 minutes. Ethereum does it in about 12 seconds. Bitcoin is capped at 21 million coins. Ethereum has no fixed supply. Over 120 million Ether have been created, and the number grows with the network. Also, Bitcoin miners earn block rewards. Ethereum users earn transaction fees instead. That flexibility makes Ethereum different. Now that you know the basics, let's go back. Who started this? Where did it come from? And how did it grow so fast? Let's take it back to the beginning. It all began with a then 19-year-old programmer named Vitalik Buterin. Back then, Vitalik was already deep in the Bitcoin space. He was co-founding Bitcoin magazine and diving into the tech behind it, but something wasn't sitting right with him. He felt that Bitcoin, as revolutionary as it was, had a serious limitation. It was too narrow. It focused only on one use case, money. Vitalik had a bigger vision. He later said, "I thought the Bitcoin community wasn't approaching the problem in the right way. They were going after individual applications, trying to bolt them on one by one, like a Swiss Army knife. But I thought, why not build a platform that could support any kind of application on its own?" So in late 2013, Vitalik collaborated with eToro's CEO on a project called Colored Coins, exploring how blockchain tech could represent things like stocks and real estate. But when that project hit a wall, Vitalik decided it was time for something entirely new. That something would become Ethereum, a platform powered by a full-blown, Turing-complete programming language capable of handling pretty much any logic developers could dream up. In January 2014, Ethereum was officially announced at the North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami. Vitalik, along with a few other early collaborators, Gavin Wood, Charles Hoskinson, and Anthony DiIorio, rented a house in Miami. They basically lived and worked together, hashing out what Ethereum could actually become. It was messy, creative, and intense. Development officially kicked off in 2014 under a Swiss company called Ethereum Switzerland GmbH, or just ETH Suisse. The real magic, though, came when Gavin Wood published the Ethereum Yellow Paper, a highly technical document that defined how the Ethereum virtual machine would actually work. Not long after, the non-profit Ethereum Foundation was formed to help guide the project. To fund the whole thing, Ethereum launched a massive online crowd sale in July 2014. People could buy Ether with Bitcoin, and the sale raised over $18 million, one of the largest crowdfunding events at the time. And that was just the beginning. In the months that followed, development accelerated. Multiple teams across different cities worked on separate versions of the protocol in Go, Python, and C++, just in case one had bugs the others didn't. It was like building the same spaceship 3 different ways to make sure at least one would fly. Then, after a series of prototypes with codenames like Olympic, Ethereum finally launched for real. On July 30th, 2015, the Ethereum network went live with its Genesis block, the very first block of the chain. Inside were nearly 9,000 transactions, and just like that, Ethereum was officially off the ground. In 2016, something major happened, something that would test the entire Ethereum community. A project called the DAO launched on the Ethereum platform. It was a kind of decentralized venture fund powered entirely by smart contracts, and it raised over $150 million, a record-breaking amount at the time. But then it got hacked. An unknown attacker exploited a flaw in the DAO's code and siphoned off $50 million worth of Ether. The community was shaken. Developers, users, and investors were all asking the same thing: what now? After intense debate, the Ethereum team made a controversial decision. They would roll back the chain, a hard fork, to reverse the hack and return the stolen funds. Not everyone agreed with this. Some felt it violated the core principle of code is law. So when the fork happened, the network split in two. One side became the Ethereum we know today. The other side, refusing the fork, became Ethereum Classic. The DAO hack was a defining moment, but Ethereum didn't fold under pressure, and from that point on, things started moving fast. In 2017, Ethereum hit another huge milestone, one that showed just how serious the world was starting to take it. That's when a group of startups, research labs, and even Fortune 500 companies came together to form the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, or EEA. It launched with 30 founding members, but within just a couple of months, names like Microsoft, Intel, JP Morgan, Deloitte, Accenture, Cisco, MasterCard, and even Samsung were on board. Suddenly, Ethereum was being adopted by the biggest players in tech and finance. Not long after, in early 2018, a new standard called ERC 721 was published. It officially defined what a non-fungible token, NFT, was, and Ethereum became the platform for NFTs, paving the way for a market that would soon be worth billions. By that time, Ether, Ethereum's native currency, had become the second largest crypto by market cap, right behind Bitcoin, and it's held onto that spot ever since. In 2021, Visa made headlines when it started settling transactions in stablecoins using Ethereum, and companies like JP Morgan, UBS, and MasterCard invested over $65 million into Consensys, a company building tools and infrastructure around Ethereum. That same year, Ethereum went through 2 big network upgrades, Berlin in April and London in August. But Ethereum's biggest transformation came in 2022. It was called the Merge, and it was massive. Since the beginning, Ethereum had used the same system as Bitcoin, proof of work. But that method requires huge amounts of energy, and Ethereum had been planning for years to switch to something cleaner and more efficient. The Merge was that switch. In a carefully planned series of updates, Bellatrix, Paris, and later Chapella, Ethereum transitioned to proof of stake. The final merge happened on September 15, 2022. From that moment, Ethereum was no longer secured by energy-intensive mining, but by validators staking their Ether to support the network. The impact? Ethereum's energy usage dropped by over 99%, a massive shift for both the network and the environment, and the evolution didn't stop there. In March 2024, Ethereum rolled out another big upgrade called Deneb-Cancun. It introduced a new feature called blobs, part of an early step toward proto-danksharding. Basically, this made it much cheaper for Layer 2 networks to store and share data on the Ethereum main chain, reducing costs and improving scalability. quickly. And on the horizon, another big upgrade is coming. Pectra, expected in mid-2025. Pectra will raise the maximum amount of ETH a single validator can stake from the current 32 ETH all the way up to 2048. It'll also bring new features that blend smart contract functionality into regular user accounts, making Ethereum even more flexible and user-friendly. So here we are, over a decade since it was first dreamed up by a teenager with a bold idea. And as of right now, Ethereum still holds its place as the second largest cryptocurrency in the world, with a market cap of around $191 billion. The current price of ETH, roughly $1,591.88. But as history has shown, Ethereum isn't standing still, and neither is the ecosystem around it. Whether it's scaling with sharding, powering the next wave of decentralized apps, or finding new ways to connect blockchains and real-world systems, Ethereum is still building the future of the internet. And that future? It's just getting started. If you found this video helpful and learned something new, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps out. And if there's a specific topic you'd like us to cover next, just drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.